Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Dear Dhamma friends, we started to discuss a particular sutta which is called Sunakkhatta Sutta, available in Majjhima Nikaya. As you know, there are 3 sections to Majjhima Nikaya, divided into 3 groups, and this is actually available in the 3rd group, and this is actually the 105th Sutta. Sutta unfolds with a kind of an event happened during the Buddha's time, where Buddha was living at Vesali and Great Wood, a huge forest we can say. So Buddha was dwelling there. And at that time, there are many monks who are meeting the Buddha and explaining that how they succeeded in their practice. Some are telling, approaching the Buddha and mentioning that they have succeeded their practice, now they have completed their practice, and now they are fully enlightened beings, so arahants. And so likewise, many monks are approaching the Buddha and informing Buddha that they are now fully free from any defilements, and now they are fully enlightened beings. So when this has happened, it was heard by one Lichavi's son called Sunakkhatta. So Lichavi is the one who was ruling that country, Vesali, and there was a son to them, and he is called Sunakkhatta. So he actually heard what these monks were telling. And he approached the Buddha, and he actually was doubtful about these statements, because many monks are coming and telling, okay, Bhante, I also have achieved, I am now an enlightened being, I am now an arahant, this is the way I have practiced, all the taints are now eradicated, uprooted. So likewise, all are talking about their success. But this son of the Lichavis, he is little bit of doubtful about it. So even today there are many people who are doubtful about, now when some people are telling, I am an arahant, I am an arahant. So anyway, so similarly this time also when many monks are explaining their achievement, so this particular person, he is doubtful about it, and he later go and meet the Buddha. And he is actually asking a very valid question. He is telling Bhante, now there are many monks approaching you and explaining their achievement, their success in their practice. Are they really arahants? Or have they misguided? Or have they telling like that because of their overestimation? Then Buddha actually discussed this topic in detail. So that is very valid question, and kind of a common mistake happened among the practitioners. So Buddha mentioned that there are certain monks who are really arahants, who are true arahants, and once they achieve it, they know that they are arahants, and they come and explain me that we have achieved it. So they are truly arahants. They are not mistaken. They are not telling that out of conceit. They are not telling that out of overestimation. Rather, they did their practice really, and truly they are arahants. On the other hand, there is another group who are not really arahants, but they assume that they are arahants due to overestimation. So this is something discussed even during the Buddha's time. So it is not uncommon today, and today also some people are telling that I am an arahant, so and so. Anyway, it has happened during the Buddha's time also, and this Lichavi's son, Sunakkhatta, has questioned about it. And then Buddha answered that in detail. So, and then Buddha go on explaining this subject. Buddha mentioned that when certain monks approaching me and explaining that they are arahants, but really I know that they are not. I feel that I want to teach them because they have misguided, they have misunderstood, they have overestimated their practice, their attainment. So I feel often that I have to preach them Dhamma. I have to further explain them Dhamma. I have to further restrain them. I have to inform them. So, but again Buddha mentioned there are others who are difficult to restrain and they are quite stubborn in a way, and they again and again confirm their achievement, confirm their attainment. So there also I feel I need to explain them, I need to teach them. So that is how Buddha is explaining. Now this is something quite common among the practitioners, because sometimes when somebody is continuing their practice, either in samatha tranquility meditation or in the vipassana meditation, there are many instances they may overestimate themselves. So like we discussed last time, say for example, someone is practicing anapanasati. So when they continue their practice, assume that they are able to maintain some amount of concentration. For a long time, say about half an hour, their mind is fixed on in-breath and out-breath. That's all. I mean, assume that mindfulness has established. Now they are capable of maintaining their attention on in-breath and out-breath. So typically we can call it as excess concentration, but probably they might misunderstand or overestimate this as a jhana. So this is a kind of a typical overestimation could happen. On the other hand, suppose rather than they misguided or they overestimating themselves, assume that they are continuing their practice, then there's a possibility because of their practice the concentration improves, and they may even appear the counterpart sign, what we call as the concentration sign, and using which they can further improve their practice, further improve their concentration. So even that level, certain people can misunderstand, thinking that this is a jhana. So this is actually called as neighborhood concentration, just edge of the jhana. I mean, they are just edge, not yet into the jhana, but almost there. People still can overestimate themselves that this is the first jhana or this is the second jhana. Assume that certain skillful practitioner still not misguided or overestimated, still he is continuing. And there may be a situation that he really achieves first jhana by absorbing to this counterpart sign. So he know, okay, I was watching just this counterpart sign, just concentration sign, and at a given time mind get absorbed to this counterpart sign. So now mind is not wavering, concentration is very firm, and mindfulness is well established, and he is not aware of anything else but the counterpart sign. Now one can safely say this is a kind of an absorption, and even teachers say don't try to look at jhana factors immediately, because if you try to investigate jhana factors early stages, it is detrimental to jhana. So therefore just continue the practice. Don't try to look at where you are, whether it is first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana. Don't try to verify, just try to familiarize with the situation. Because if you want to look at jhana factors, you have to emerge from the jhana, and then only you can actually look at what are the jhana factors available. So it's a kind of a verification process which will disturb the absorption. So therefore typically teachers advise not to do it immediately. So it's a matter of continuation the practice and be familiarizing with it, and so that you are skillful in being there. Then once you are fairly familiar with it and once you are fairly confident and you can spend there for a fairly long time, probably then you can check or verify what are the jhana factors available, what are the concentration factors available. So that's a kind of an education, that's a kind of a understanding one has to have. So not to prematurely verify where you are. So people actually want to verify. They want to know where I am. Whether I am a person with first jhana, or whether I am a person with second jhana, or whether I am a person with third jhana, whether I am better than him, whether I am better than her, or I am lower than him, lower than her. So we always want to compare ourselves. Our practice is sometimes result oriented. We are targeting something. So I am practicing just to achieve first jhana. I am targeting to achieve second jhana. So always we keep some aspiration, we keep an aim. So we are trying to achieve. So basically this is the typical driving force that we bring from our day-to-day mundane type of achievement. That we always want to do something, always want to become someone, as we discussed even during the afternoon in our question and answer session. So we are taking these habits even to the spiritual practice. So I want to have first jhana. I want to experience first jhana. I want to be better than him. So likewise we are having these kind of temperaments, tendencies, and slowly we can actually overcome them. So as I mentioned in the earlier stages, so these kind of goals, these kind of aspirations motivate us. So therefore we can't immediately discard them. Rather we can make use of them. We can get some benefit from them. But on the other hand, looking down another person and sort of putting yourself up is not advisable, not acceptable. Comparing yourself with another person, comparing your practice with another person, it's not something useful, because either you feel overestimated, either you feel conceited, or else you feel negative if you do this comparison. So therefore better you be to yourself and continue your practice. So it is up to you to continue the practice. If you practice enough, then the results are available. So those are not because that someone else is well blessed by someone or kind of a special skill another person has, but he has dedicated himself to the practice. So that's why he was able to experience, say, better than ourselves. So if we also practice better, dedicate ourselves to the practice, then of course we are also able to experience fair amount of, say, concentration. And on the other hand, now suppose when someone is practicing and because of his overestimation, he thinks that he has achieved jhana, but actually he is not. But now he is going and reporting to a teacher, I did this and that, and now I am a winner of first jhana. If teacher condemn or reject it, telling that no, you are not, you have to further practice, so this is not the real first jhana. So likewise, if he advise him, there is a tendency among the students, among the practitioners, that thinking teacher doesn't know. Not that student doesn't know, but rather thinking that the teacher doesn't know. He didn't achieve the level of concentration that I have achieved. So I am a special person who could achieve this much of very blissful state of mind, but my teacher didn't achieve it. So that's why he is maybe jealous of me. He has no understanding. So that's why he is telling, no, you are not a jhana, in a jhana. So likewise, there is a tendency among the practitioners to underestimate the teacher or to look down the teacher, thinking that they know better than the teacher. So this is a big mistake happens in our life. So always we have to look at our situation in a sort of more humble manner, thinking that I know only a little, but a teacher may know better than me. So for a teacher, actually, this is something very trivial, but for the practitioner, it is something very important. Because assume that you are from a background with a lot of, tension, stress, and all these difficulties, and once you achieve even a little bit of concentration in your mind, so you really feel it, you really enjoy it, and for you it is very much like a jhana. But for the teacher, it is a very trivial concentration. But for you, it's appear very important, very, significant. So therefore, you put yourself into very high, thinking it is something. But for the teacher, when you explain it, it's a very trivial achievement. So therefore, we have to be more realistic, more humble in the spiritual practice. And on the other hand, when one is in the first jhana, so sometimes people may get attached to it. There's a fair amount of bliss and fair amount of happiness, and sometimes our mind get attached to it. And so you start to practice in order to attain jhana. So that is also another kind of a tendency. So rather than progressing to the next levels, so probably you might get stuck where you are, not listening to the teacher, not giving up where you are, rather attached to what you have achieved. So this is another hindrance or another pitfall that we might come across. Now let's think about the Vipassana side. Now I just explained something about the Samatha side. Similar situation is possible in Vipassana as well. Suppose that you are given a very trivial primary object. Say while you are sitting, so teacher might instruct, okay, just watch the breath. So appear like nothing, so people start to criticize. What's the benefit of looking at air? So this is a kind of a criticism. So they don't know what is the purpose, what are the benefits, so they start to criticize. No purpose of looking at air. Maybe wind. Any purpose? So if you are looking at air going inside the nose, when you are looking at air going outside the nose, what's the purpose? So people may criticize. So this is another situation. So then the practitioners get discouraged. So that person told, not necessary. You don't need to practice meditation at all. You can simply listen to Dhamma and achieve Sotapanna. So there are situations even today telling the same thing. So then they give up their hard practice, their hard work. They all together give up meditation. This is also possible. And on the other hand, suppose now you are continuing your practice. Now you are continuing Anapanasati, you are continuing your, walking meditation, trying to improve mindfulness. And as you improve mindfulness, there are situations, you are capable of walking mindfully from this point to the end, from starting point to the end. Even at the turning point, turning around, you can do it successfully, and you can even return. So likewise, you are improving yourself. Mindfulness is increasing. So as you continue, now there is a situation. Now mindfulness has well established, and you feel quite lighter. Once mindfulness is well established, you feel something different. Because all of this time you were struggling, because mind was again and again distracted. You have to pull the mind back to the primary object. So it's a kind of a struggle. Again it is going, you are pulling it back, again it's distracting, again you are pulling it back. So kind of a struggle. But on the other hand, when the mindfulness is well established, you don't need to do it. So for a considerable period of time, for half an hour, 1 hour, so mind is there. Mind is on the walking path, or the sensations, or in-breath and out-breath. Now, sometimes people even think, they may think, this is the Vipassana knowledge, or this is Sunyata, Animitta, Appanihita. So they heard these high teachings, and they might attribute their achievement also to that. So that is also something we might get misled, thinking that this establishment of mindfulness is kind of a high achievement. But when you explain this to a teacher, he might say, okay, this is just the establishment of mindfulness. This is the first step. But there's a long procedure, long few more things to do. Now you got to investigate the primary object further. You got to investigate what you are feeling. You got to investigate various sensations. You got to investigate various element characteristics. Or you may need to investigate your own mind. So likewise the teacher may advise, but that appear like not blissful. So again you have to do something, and again you are losing your said blissful state, calm state, tranquility state, which you have gained through just through establishment mindfulness. So therefore sometimes people are reluctant to do that. So in that sense, Vipassana is something that involved with certain amount of dukkha, little bit of unsatisfactoriness, because you have to look at it. You have to look at the primary object. You have to investigate the primary object. You have to investigate various other sensations. Whatever the momentary experience, you have to investigate. So this you have to initiate purposely. If not, you might get attached to the simple, trivial kind of tranquility which you gain through establishment of mindfulness. So as I mentioned, just the mere establishment of mindfulness is also producing some amount of tranquility. And if we simply satisfied with that level, then we are not progressing. And here also we have to be humble, we have to be careful on our practice, and we have to listen to the teacher and investigate element characteristics, or breath, or maybe rising and falling, or walking sensations. So likewise the investigation has to be improved. Now assume that now you are improving that. Now you got many information, details are available, subtle details are available. And as you continue, more and more information is available. At the beginning you only knew it is simply kind of a heaviness available. Assume that you are keeping your hand on the other hand. So if you are paying attention to that, a little bit of heaviness is felt, that's all. But as you continue the practice, so it converts to something it converts to something more. Like it is not a mere feeling, it's more and more subtle or minute kind of feelings, a group of feelings. And it's not only heaviness, maybe heat, maybe sort of feeling little bit of hardness, softness, and likewise there are many more information available, more details available. So that happens slowly. So if you are impatient in the practice, you can't come to that, because you need quick results. And you need everything overnight, then you can't come to that level, because it takes some time. So you have to again and again apply your mind, again and again do the investigation, then only the refinement of mindfulness may happen. Refinement of concentration may happen. Sharpening of mindfulness, sharpening of concentration may happen, which is capable of extracting more subtle detail. It's very much like you are improving or increasing resolution. Once your resolution is increased, more subtle information is available. Similarly, once your mindfulness and concentration is refined, sharpened, so more details are available where you are investigating. So therefore, you need to actually believe, you need to trust the teacher. At least you need to trust the fellow practitioners who are explaining. Otherwise, if you think that, now mindfulness is available, continuous mindfulness is available, I am feeling blissful, I am feeling calm, happy, no much bothering. So if you simply stop there, you are not going forward, especially to the development of wisdom or clear comprehension, starting with. Now, suppose you are humble, you accepted the instruction, and now you are continuing. Now you are getting clear comprehension. You know clearly what are the things available at a given moment, and now you are continuing. And even here, if we stick to this elements meditation, so there may be a little bit of understanding slowly developing, and you may penetrate the compactness. The view of compactness, ghana sanya, might get penetrated. So typically we think this body is I am, this body belongs to me, this body is a person, and I am this body. So likewise we have some personality views, strong personality views. So as you continue the elements meditation, probably at a given time, so this whole body breaks into pieces. So it's a kind of a frightening experience sometimes. And if you get frightened and if you are so attached to the body, probably you might, rarely certain person can even give up meditation. But here also, if you are ready to hear, if you are ready to listen to the teacher, probably he may tell, okay, don't worry, this is an insight, this is something beginning, it's an insight knowledge that you are gaining, so just continue. So likewise the teacher may encourage the practitioner. So we have to listen. Similarly, assume that he is continuing. Now further understandings may develop. Further and further understanding may develop, and not only breaking up into pieces, so understanding different element characteristics, but one may understand even common characteristics available to all different types of elements. See how they are quickly arising and passing away, and how vulnerable they are, how inconstant they are, and how unsatisfactory they are, and there is no inner core in it, in this body. And likewise, so there are various insights are capable of producing. And assume, even at the previous stage, if someone think, okay, now I am an arahant, so that is an overestimation. Now say the body has broken into pieces, and it is also something significant. And at that time, if he thinks, overestimates, thinking now everything was done, now my mind is not grasping the body, I feel quite happy, and mind feels quite tranquil, no defilements at all. Now I have achieved full enlightenment. It's possible, thinking like that. But again, you are doing kind of an overestimation. So there also you need to be a little bit humble to accept the instruction and continue the practice. And even later, when one reaches the sammasana jnana, where you are understanding the three characteristics, impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self, so there are also fair amount of understanding is possible. A fair amount of wisdom is developed. So when you achieve that, even at that level, if someone is thinking, now I am an arahant, it's still overestimation. So these are hard practices. You are putting a lot of time, you are dedicated, and a lot of insights are possible. And we don't know actually really whether we are an arahant or not. How to verify? So sometimes, there may be a significant change also. It's very difficult to verify. And someone has to go and explain the teacher, okay, this is the way I have practiced, these are the insights I have gained. So is it something? And there's a very beautiful advice given by Most Venerable Mātara Sri Jnanārāma Mahathero. So he is telling, whenever you think I have attained, whenever you think now I am a Sotapanna, whenever you think I am a Sakadagami, one stream winner, once returner, non-returner, arahant, whenever you think like that, always underestimate yourself. So that is a advice given by Most Venerable Mātara Jnanārāma Mahathero. Always underestimate these attainments. Because if you overestimate, that is more dangerous than underestimate. Because if we overestimate ourselves, then we probably stop our practice, we start to give instructions and we feel sort of conceited. Many hindrances may come on our way and we start to downfall. But if we underestimate ourselves, then no harm. I mean, you may continue your practice because you are not yet achieved something. You simply have to further continue the practice, no harm. So therefore he is more cautious and mentioning, always underestimate your achievement, your attainment. So now assume that someone is further continuing the practice and there is a possibility his mind get temporarily released. No grasping at all. Assume that he is practicing Kayanupassana, Dhatu Manasikara, and getting a lot of insights, and even through that he is capable of achieving kind of a temporary release. So if someone think this temporary release is arahantship, this temporary release is some say huge attainment, so that is also, we can say, kind of a overestimation. So therefore it's very difficult to precisely tell whether someone has achieved, whether someone has attained. And it is a kind of a subject of the Buddha. Actually not even the subject of Arahants. Just to give a little example, there is one Samanera called Pandita Samanera. He is a very talented, very wise young novice. And when he was practicing, and Buddha knew that he is now about to attain enlightenment, but Venerable Sariputta didn't know. Venerable Sariputta was the teacher, and he is about to go that kuti, towards that hut where Venerable Pandita Samanera was practicing. And if Venerable Sariputta arrive there, then it's a kind of a disturbance to this practitioner. So therefore Buddha knew that now he is almost there. So Buddha therefore avoided that, knowing that he is almost there. On another occasion, Venerable Sariputta was preaching Dhamma to another person, another monk. And the other monk slowly achieving one after the other, all the different attainments. And Venerable Sariputta continued to preach Dhamma. And Venerable Sariputta, of course, is a very capable teacher, explaining Dhamma very well. So the listener was stage by stage, he is progressing. Now typically, if one becomes fully enlightened, so then no point of further listening to Dhamma, no. Purpose is done. Now same thing happened here. The listener has become fully enlightened by listening to Venerable Sariputta's sermon. But he didn't tell that to Venerable Sariputta. So Venerable Sariputta, thinking that he is still not fully attained, fully enlightened, he is continuing to preach. So it's an interesting situation. Now Venerable Sariputta didn't know that this person has now fully enlightened. So he continued to preach, thinking that I have to further preach Dhamma because he has to further understand the realities. But in between, this person has fully enlightened. But this person is not telling now stop Dhamma, stop preaching, now I am done. He is not telling like that either. Because it's not necessary, why to interrupt? Someone else is preaching Dhamma, no need to interrupt. So the new Arahant is not interrupting Venerable Sariputta, he is just listening. Beautiful. But Buddha knew it. So he actually made a kind of a utterance, what you call Udana. seen this situation, how in a way, how Venerable Sariputta was sympathetic towards this person. He was continuously preaching Dhamma in order to enlighten the other person. That is one aspect. On the other side, the new Arahant, who is so humble, who doesn't want to speak out, telling now I am an Arahant. He just listens to Dhamma. So that is the other side. So looking at these two aspects, Buddha was so happy, and he is making an udana, utterance. There's a beautiful English term for that, udana. So such situations are there. So it's very difficult to verify whether another person is an arahant or attained or whatever it is. But overestimations are even recorded, even in Sri Lanka. There are many commentaries, stories in the commentary, Attakatha. Say for example, in Sri Lanka, there is one monk who is actually very good in his concentration, and he has all abhinya, direct knowledges. So he can even create many things, and he can penetrate things, he can look at another person's mind, he can recall his past lives. So all these direct knowledges are available, and he thought he's an arahant. And on the other hand, there are other monks, and there's another student also to this particular monk, and he's a wise person, and he actually was practicing more into the Vipassana, and he became a real arahant. Now, after he becoming an arahant, now maybe out of gratitude, he is thinking, where is my teacher is? Now, unfortunately, he found he is still just a putujjana. Now he is thinking, okay, I got to help him. Now he is approaching the teacher, paying respect and asking Bhante whether, are you an arahant? Yes, I am. It was done for a long time ago. Are you having these very special skills, abhinya, the direct knowledges? Yes, I have. Can you create an elephant? Yes, why not? Then can you make it? Yes, here's an elephant. Huge elephant. Can you ask it to come towards ourselves? Yes. Now the elephant is approaching yourself, towards you. Can you make it run towards you? Now coming ferociously towards you. Now it is coming. Because his teacher is very capable in abhinya. Now this elephant is approaching very fast towards these two monks, this student and the teacher. Now what happened? Very close now. Now teacher gets up and try to run. And then the student, holding from the robe, asking, are there arahants with fear? Is it possible to have fear in arahant's mind? Then teacher understood that I have mistaken. So he is in a way very humble. He understood, I have mistaken. I have overestimated myself. So he actually now requests from the student, please help me. So these are all even recorded in the commentary. So you can see these achievements can mislead ourselves. These concentration powers, concentration skills can mislead ourselves. And even Venerable Devadatta has this abhinya. And he wanted to even expel Buddha and have the Buddhahood and want to administer the monks. And he actually used abhinya to convert King Ajasatta. So likewise, there are these things even recorded, has happened during the Buddha Sasana. So therefore, all these different skills, even spiritual skills, we have to be carefully handled. So they are not really something to boast They are not really something to sort of make a self. So if we really practice Buddha's teaching, one will be well grounded. One may become just a human being. One may become practicing to oneself, not showing off. So there are very beautiful qualities Buddha explained, so we can look at them further. So likewise, there are many areas, many situations, and we might get wrong, we might go wrong, and we might overestimate ourselves. So here also, now Buddha explains this sutta in more detail, explaining some traits in ourselves. And now Buddha mentioned, now there are forms cognizable by eye, those are very beautiful, and they are quite desired, wished for, agreeable, likable, and they are provocative of lust. And similarly, there are very pleasant, say, sounds, maybe music, songs, etc. They are more agreeable, more wished for, desired, likable, and provocative of lust. There are pleasant odors, there are pleasant sensations, there are pleasant tastes. They are more agreeable, likable, wished for, and provocative of lust. And there is a person who concerned with this kind of typical sensual pleasures. And he is more interested of material things, looking at these things, sensual pleasures, sensual gratification. And he thinks that is the best thing to do, and that is something to do, and his interests are on that. He's going after that, more and more, looking more admirable things, more beautiful things, beautiful sceneries. He's going after very beautiful music, going after pleasant odors, going after various tastes, and going after very pleasant sensations, tactile sensations. So likewise, so his whole life is motivated towards this kind of an achievement. So his interests are on that. And his thinking, his pondering, also in line with that. And not only that, he associates people with the same interests. And he finds satisfaction in it. Now you can see certain tendencies here. Now he has desires for sensual gratification, and he is going after that. He thinks always about it, ponders always about it, and he wants to associate such people. And when he is associating such people, he feels happy, he feels satisfied. Now this is not difficult to understand. I mean, that is how same birds flock together, isn't it? So same attitude people, same minded people, they being well together, and that is what they are discussing. That is how they are finding company, and that is how they are satisfying themselves. And you can go to a pub, you can go to a whatever it is, and you can find out the same type of people. So they may be interested of having a drink, alcohol, and they are thinking about that, planning about that, and discussing about it. Let's go and have something. And now they plan, and now they are going there, and they are enjoying it. Maybe different group of people, and they are satisfied with it. Now, if someone is telling about them, let's go to a temple, let's go to a meditation retreat to Kalalgoda, are they interested? They are not, because that is not their interest. So Buddha is taking us to a further step, telling, say there's a person who is more into the concentration development. Say he is more capable of meditating and he found some seclusion. He used maybe corona for his advantage and did lot of practice, and he was able to achieve fair amount of concentration. And he is coming to jhana, maybe 4th jhana, even 5th jhana and 6th jhana. So it's a fair amount of concentration he has achieved. And this is something in a way, because 4th jhana, 5th jhana, 6th jhana, so these are actually quite blissful, we can say, and fairly imperturbable. That is the name given here, Anenja, imperturbable, fairly stable state of mind. And once someone is there, his mind is quite opened, very stable, less defilements, higher concentrations, whole mind is very much like open, no boundaries, those are boundless concentrations. So those are, a significant achievement in one's concentration side. So if such person is inviting that person who is more into the sensual desires, sensual gratification, then Buddha say they are not really telling each other, so they are not really matching each other, so it doesn't matter, it doesn't go on well. But on the other hand, to the person who is more into the materialistic side, if the same-minded person come and propose something, then definitely he is happy. Buddha gives a very interesting simile. He mentioned, suppose someone is long away from one's village, and unlike today, during the Buddha's time, there were no cell phones, there were no WhatsApp, there were no Facebook, there were no internet, there were no newspapers, nothing was there, no communication mechanisms. So the only way to know about the village is from another person coming from the same village. This person is coming recently, but the previous person is away from the village for a long time. Now the person coming recently out of the village meets this person. Now Buddha is asking, how about the previous person who was away from his village for a long time, several years? When he meet this new person coming from the village, is he going to be happy with the company? The new person is explaining, okay, I am from the same village, now these people are like this, now these developments have happened, these roads are built, there's a clock tower now available. So likewise, there are many news available coming from the village. So he is explaining these news to the person who is away from the village for several years. Now Buddha is asking, so is it a kind of a agreeable discussion to the previous person? Will he be enjoying such kind of a discussion? What do you think? Aren't he interested of knowing his own village? Suppose he is going for some business purpose, and there are no newspapers or telecommunication, whatever it is. So only way to know about his family, only way to know about his relatives, neighbors, is to meet a person who is coming from the same village. Now assumes accidentally this person was able to meet that person, another person. Will that company be an interested company? Yes, because this person, the new person coming from the village, has the, latest news, not the old news. He has the latest news. So therefore, when he is explaining this family is like this family is like this, your father is doing well, your mother is doing well, so your children are good, so now they are going to this Apamok, etc., etc. So it's an interesting news to this, the old person. So therefore Buddha says, it's a good company. They are interested in such talking. They may find delight in that conversation. So similarly, Buddha mentioned, for the person who is more enthusiastic of material growth or material enjoyment, sensual gratification, for such person, so the same minded person, when he is talking the same thing, so their company is well matched and their conversation is delighted. Now, going to the spiritual part, more into the concentration side. So when a person is more into spiritual development, more into concentration side for the time being, now he has achieved higher concentrations, has become capable of maintaining a very imperturbable mind, unwavering mind. So for such person, talking about sensuality, talking about looking at the film, looking at hearing a song, going through various that kind of sensual gratification, if someone is coming and telling such things, what do you think? Will he be interested? No. Buddha says it is not, because these concentrations are really powerful and they actually blocks all the hindrances, subside all the hindrances. Now sensual desires are far away. So that is why even overestimation can happen. These higher concentrations actually subside defilements for a long time. And they may not appear at all in their mind. They may even think that they are non-returners. Even to that level, defilements are not available in the mind. And they may feel quite uplifted. And if someone is coming and asking them to go for sensual desire, sensual gratification, so these people are now not interested. Now Buddha mentioned another simile there. Very much like a leaf fallen from the tree, fallen from its stalk, is not capable of putting it back, converting back to a green leaf. Assume that a leaf was there, it is matured, old, ripened, and it is now fallen from the tree. Can you make it again, paste it back to the tree and make it green? Impossible. So therefore, similarly, Buddha mentioned, for a person who has achieved fair amount of good concentration and he is there for a long time, for such a person, going back to that sensuality is not that possible. And now, Buddha is continuing the comparison. Now more and more information is given to the higher concentration practices. I thought of talking that tomorrow, because the first area I covered through this sutta is more relevant to the concentration side. And then Buddha is taking this to Vipassana as well, and then another very interesting simile is mentioned. So I feel this is enough for today as a kind of an introduction, and it's actually a kind of a reminder of the previous, or recalling of the previous. Actually last month also I took the same topic, some information already mentioned, reminds us to look ourselves, or to look back ourselves, and what we have achieved, and what are the motivations in ourselves, what are the traits in ourselves, and whether we have overestimated ourselves, and whether we have got mistaken. And are we doing some kind of a overestimation in ourselves? So likewise, there are certain very interesting points highlighted in this sutta, particularly relevant to successful practitioners. Because if you are simply a beginner and you're still struggling with left and right, or rising and falling, in breath, out breath, so these kind of defilements, these kind of traits may not happen to you. But most of the time, when you become successful, maybe with higher concentrations, maybe with some higher wisdom, so then there is a possibility of getting mistaken, becoming overestimated. So that is why sometimes they are called as upakkilesa, Vipassana upakkilesa. 10 types of upakkilesa are mentioned, so we will discuss those on tomorrow. And I like to conclude today's Dhamma sermon with that, and thank you very much for attentive listening. So today, there's a little bit of sharing of merits. Today lunch dana was offered by Mrs. Damayanti Senadhira in memory of her late parents and blessings for the yogis who meditate at Kalalgoda. And with that, as well as we have accumulated a lot of merits through listening to Dhamma and participating in Dhamma discussion and practicing to the best of our ability. So all these merits we share with all the past relatives and with all the celestial beings and whoever in need of merits. And we wish ourselves also to realize true Dhamma and to attain path, fruition and Nibbana. While keeping these good wishes in ourselves, let's recite the traditional verses. Ettavatacha amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavatacha amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavatacha amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Akasattha ca bummattha devanaga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhantu sasanang. Akasattha ca bummattha devanaga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhantu desanang. Akasattha ca bummattha devanaga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhantu mam parang. Idang vo ñātīnaṁ hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Idang vo ñātīnaṁ hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Idang vo ñātīnaṁ hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.